Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com and welcome to our third video on debugging. Here we're going to be talking about try and catch blocks and error throw. So what's going to happen is that you kind of already could do this with console. This is just another thing that's built into JavaScript to use. And what you can do is as you do a function. So let's say function, function const loop array, and the idea here is we're supposed to pass in an array, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to loop that array. So console.log, and then we'll just say, hey, for value of array, then just console.log value. Save. Cool. So now if I were to do this, we'll say const my array equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Save. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nice. And then I were to use this function, loop array my r. It just takes the array and loops over it. So let's see, it works perfectly with just a normal array. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, what happens if I were to throw in like a number? That's something that's not an array. It's going to try to loop over a number. That's not going to work. Save. Let's see what it does. It throws me an error. It says r is not iterable. Now I know what that means. I know, oh, okay, I need something that's iterable, meaning something that a for of loop can loop over, like an array, a set, a map. But that's that might not be as descriptive, or as descriptive as I want to make it to somebody else, because this may be a much more complicated function. So I want to make sure that other people know what they were supposed to do to fix their use of the function, to debug what they're doing. So I may do something like this. I'll say, we'll say if r is instance of, or instance of array, if that's the case, then we'll do the for loop. Okay, so I'll move the for loop in there. Else we'll throw an error. So throw, this is not an array, or argument is not an array. Let's put it, make it even more descriptive. Argument is not an array. So let's see what happens if I run the function again. Okay. So the argument is C, and passes my message, my error message. But that's not the prettiest way of showing it. Okay. And it'll show up differently. Sometimes I think in the browser it may not show just like this. So I need to be able to try to catch that error that's being thrown. And again, if I go back to my R, this function will run just fine. Save. Okay, but now I have a much more descriptive message when there is an error. See, argument is not an array. That's nice. Now it's very clear as to what's wrong. Cool. Especially when you're trying to build like libraries for other people to use, building in things that'll tell them what they did wrong is very useful. So let's say I'm using this function, okay, and I want to make sure that if there's an error, I catch it. Okay, what I'll do is I'll do a try catch block, a catch block. So you do try, put a curly brackets, and then you put the code that you hope to work. Control X. And that goes in the try block. Then you'll do a catch block, which is like a function. So it takes a parameter, which is error. You can use any word, but error is kind of pretty descriptive of what it's being. And the idea is that in that block, you describe what happens if an error is thrown within the try block. Okay, so in this case, I want to just console.log, In this case, I want to make my error look really pretty, so I'll do console.log. So do a couple of these. Console.log, and then I want to see the error in between. Okay, so if something goes wrong, it'll show me the error. If everything goes fine, if everything in the try block works and there's no problem, then it just runs like normal. Save. Okay, so that time it was working fine. And now let's see here, if I change this back to a number, again, not an array, let's see how its response is. Save. And see, now it shows me an error in a much prettier way. I can control sort of how that error ends up coming out. Okay, so that's the beauty of try catch blocks. Okay, and again, I can create custom errors by using the throw function. Okay, throw function takes in basically takes one argument, whatever message you want to give when the error is thrown. You create your conditions for when the error is thrown. So you can use conditionals to figure out, okay, hey, if this is true, code runs. If this is not true, throw an error. And then when that code is run in a try catch block, if the error is thrown within the try block, then the catch block will then run. And then that's one of the things to know when it comes to debugging. And hopefully this was very useful. Again, there are other libraries that are there to help you debug and test your software. But a lot of the capabilities are already built in the JavaScript to do 90% of what you need to do with things like console.assert, try catch blocks. If you use them effectively, testing your software shouldn't be very difficult. And catching bugs shouldn't be very difficult if you know how to strategically check your data and, again, make sure that you're not doing too much code before you test. So you make a function, test that function. You make a class, test that class. Test it out before you start doing huge chunks of outer logic that's incorporating 4 or 5 things, and you're not sure which one of those things broke it because you didn't test it. Okay, and then also just over time with experience, you get better at knowing sort of what errors pop up when you make what mistakes, because you start seeing the same patterns over and over again. So at the end of the day, there's experience counts, but that just comes with time. So I'll see you guys later on. Have a great day and enjoy.